Kitty Horrorshow's games are strange, to say the least. Each installment is a completely new experience that would leave you feeling both frightened and intrigued. That being said, no matter how different each game is, there's always a common theme that I noticed in each of her installments. The narrative on complete emptiness, and how absolute isolation became the true monsters of her games. Now, when it comes to horror games, I like to think I'm pretty brave. So when my best friend Zach told me of a game developer by the name of Kitty Horrorshow, who was the scariest he had seen by far, well, my interest was piqued, to say the very least. These games being only about 10 to 20 minutes each, I played through 5 of her installments, and will be giving a detailed overview on the environments, sound design, and the overall narrative that creates this unique isolated terror. Last thing, I will be going into great detail in each of these games, so this is a spoiler warning and a discretion warning, as many of the topics today will not be for the faint of heart. Anyways, without further ado, let's get started. Grandmother, the predecessor of Grandmother's Garden, is a standard cabin in the woods feel. You, the player, has no idea why they are there, and visibility is scarce. Not to mention the game moves extremely slow, which works great at building that unknown terror. However, thanks to the holy book inside your home, we're able to piece together some form of an explanation. The man walked, driven like cattle by the tower's groans, and with each step he took, a new worm penetrated the sole of his foot until he was naught but a suit of skin for their family, teeming and boiling at the holes of his eyes. Her mother, whose head was full of Tattered King's perverted songs, shut the girl in the attic, where blood dripped from between the teeth of the mad-eyed rocking horse, and the spiders laughed like murderers. The priestess sank into the mud, which whispered to her as it filled her ears, and she felt his oils in secret slide across the wrinkled flesh of her brain, and she shivered, and the knife burrowed underneath her ribs. Flipping to a multitude of pages, the themes stay the same, feeding on something to continue living. On your way out, you grab a knife and you kiss your grandmother goodbye. After leaving, you soon find 3 hung individuals. They're each labeled something different: murderer, leecher, and blasphemer. To my knowledge, it doesn't matter which one you kill, this happens. The music stops. The forest is black, and the only illuminations are the trees shining and bright red. Soon you find yourself in what you can only describe as hell, unable to move back and only press forward. Each step, the moans get louder and louder and louder and louder until... This game is seriously ambiguous, right? Just 4 years later, in October of 2020, Horrorshow would release Haunted Cities Bundle, Volume 4, with the title Grandmother's Garden, a finer look into the narrative Horrorshow was looking to tell in Grandmother. Immediately, while opening the game, you're met with a loading screen.
Stay inside, honey. Watch your cartoons. You don't need to see what I'm doing out here.
This, however, is just one of 4 loading screens you can get. Whatever you may get, it leaves an unsettling chill down your spine. Much like for the first installment, you're alone in the woods. You're in a third-person view with tank controls that remind me of early Resident Evil games, or more recently, puppet combo games such as Glass Door and Murder House. Entering the home, you can read the same holy book, but this time around you can interact with the grandmother. As you touch her, the lights begin to flicker, and the words, "Get digging," appears on the wall. Looking down at the grandmother, our character shares her disdain with the person she has become. Time to get digging, it says, but before that, we need to get a shovel. The path to the shed is unnerving, to say the very least. The fixed camera angles create a sense of scale and emptiness that the forest carries. Time to get digging. Oops, not there. Not here either. Oh, that's interesting. She will know. She will feel it. Through hints of the holy book and the inner monologues, we can infer that the grandmother's tape root is the one they're praying to at night. Reading each tombstone, our character calls them all monsters. People who have wronged them in the past, and people they feed them to continue living. The exterminator, the murderer, the thief, the arsonist, the blasphemer, the voyeur, the dissident, the extortionist, the lecher, the liar. In each tombstone, we get a little more detail, hinting at the tape root being someone they worship named Queen Helen. And we have been doing this since we were very young, stating things like, "She told me to throw cockroaches in the grave. The cockroach was as big as my hands." Once we begin digging, our character laments, stating that she doesn't want to deal with this anymore, that she's scared, that she downright hates it. Then suddenly, the ground collapses, bringing her down with it. Seemingly becoming the 11th monster, the next husk of skin to feed on. A fate bestowed upon her that's eerily similar to the fate that she would read in her holy books. A fate that she was all too familiar with. If they were all monsters, what was she?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever wondered how do you feel if just one day everything you knew, everything you cared for, was suddenly gone? Noises you've become accustomed to hearing are now absent, and homes that were once filled with life are now emptied. Leechbowl takes that idea and it brings it to reality, plopping the character down in an abandoned factory city where signs of life are nowhere to be found. The game itself is mostly grayscale. However, the only reoccurring color is the bloody red that can be found all throughout the city streets. While looking around, you come across a door illuminated by a red hue. Once inside, a radio can be heard playing the latest pop. And what used to be a convenience store is now darkened to no end. The merchandise have all been replaced with bloody bottles. Looking around the store, propaganda litters the wall, and they have no subtle nods to blood being a commodity. Some examples of these posters.
Meat is what you're made of. Keep that in mind. My goodness, dear cow leech, become succulent.
And the most damning evidence being that of coins soaked in literal blood. Looking around further, you find a key behind the counter where the radio lies. Wandering around the city streets further, you find another building illuminated by the hues of a mystery light. Inside, once again, has a radio broadcasting something. Here, take a gander.
Some time ago, in an Eastern scientific institution, they kept a piece of heart alive for weeks on end. Well, I got to thinking, what if that heart began to grow? And grow, and grow, and grow.
And get me a rewrite, man. The thing's still growing. No, Chief, I tell you the truth. The corridor's choked with living, crawling flesh. No, I'm not drunk. I'm telling you the truth. That little piece of flesh has grown until now it's jamming that building. All inside the space of an hour. You've got to believe me. It's the greatest news story of the generation, and here you argue with me. I tell you it's the truth. You've got to believe me.
Believe me. I tell you the only hope is to burn the building to the ground at once.
Now, wait a minute, Doc. Wait a minute. Take it easy.
I tell you, burn it to the ground. This tissue is doubling in size every hour. Do you know what that means? In another hour, it will be twice the size it is now, and long before that, it will break open the building with the force of its pressure, and then it will be free in the street. Do you hear me? Free in the street. And then those tentacles of protoplasm stretching out to feed on anything they can reach. Jack! The building! See the walls! Crashing! I warned you! I warned you! Gentlemen, it was in my institute this horror began. And if you give me a chance, perhaps I can stop it.
What is it, Doctor? Tell us first what that monster really is.
Yes, I will tell you. That great, ever-growing mass of flesh, it is, or it was, a chicken heart.
Chicken heart? Are you crazy, man?
Chicken heart! Yes, chicken heart, I tell you! Chicken heart! Listen to me, you fools! Let's have this man!
I told you it was a chicken's heart.
No, we can't die. We won't die. I'll find a safe landing place. I'll find somewhere. We're in a spin. We can't get out of it.
Doom! No! All mankind! Doom!
No! We're falling right into it, right into the heart. Ah! So the scientists and the researchers created a giant leech from a chicken's heart that never stops growing and yearns for more and more blood. Hard to imagine, but thanks to the key we snagged earlier, we're able to get into a gated area where our house is placed on a hill. Entering the home, you are transported back to the height of the incident. Running through the city streets, the game has never been darker, only able to see due to glimpses of light made from the flashing red lights from the emergency towers. At each turn, our path is blocked by a giant leech, soon forcing us into an alleyway and finally reaching the factory. Going inside to your right and left, you see what seems to be the leech's main body, and further, it's mingled with the factory itself. With one final toss of the blood bottle, words appear on the wall. If it wasn't already clear, my theory of the bigger story at hand here is showcasing where greed will get you. For the player, we feel a physical emptiness, streets without life, music without soul. But for the leech will never feel that satisfaction of being fed and always being hungry. The leech will always want more, so much so that it would create campaign posters and leave behind persuasive notes just to lead us to that very factory. Now, ask yourself, who's the empty one? Have you ever thought your entire life was merely a dream? That one day you'll just wake up in a completely different environment? Would you desperately try to cling on to something that wasn't real? Or delude yourself to continue on with life? Now, this notion isn't a new topic in the slightest. Major franchises such as Adventure Time have even done episodes on this very topic.
Hey, buddy. You feeling better already? Huh? Oh.
Pente brings that fear and turns it on its head, plopping you down in a calming cathedral, filled with flamboyant colors and mostly chill vibes. As you walk around, you can go to many different altars and read up on the history of this place. The first altar introduces us to this place as the Island of Whispers, going on to talk about the origins of this island, it being a place where she came to sing and compose her songs, which in turn kept the black star from engulfing the sky. A popular legend says that if you were to sleep there, you could hear her faint singing in the distance. The second altar is the Fountain of Ghosts. Things get a little bit weird. The description stating that these were the first swords to meet her skin and create this pond of loathsome wraiths. That's kind of sad. And the third altar, the Grey Hinges, introduces us to the antagonists, a group of individuals who took her from this island while she slept. However, it continues stating that most who knows the story believes that she sacrificed herself to keep this place tranquil. That, however, could not be further from the truth. Entering the large castle and seemingly spending the night there, once you exit, this happens. Everything now has become distorted. The bright colors from earlier are now doused in a bloody red, and the once blue sky is now darker than ever. Every altar seems to be destroyed except for one. Once you click on it, the truth comes spilling out.
It hurts so much. Don't make me go. Where are you taking me? Please. No. I won't go.
Everything you thought you knew were all lies. Hiding her screams with the lies of them being faint songs, her actions never being heroic but the actions of a victim, and finally, the beauty of this place, all being simply a facade. If this story ended here, it'd be a tragic one where the cycle continues while we watch hopeless. But in my search to find anything, I decided to jump off the edge, and I met with this. A massive, empty void with towers that resemble an obelisk. Obelisk. A massive void with towers that resemble that of an obelisk. Obelisk being an ancient Egypt structure that represented eternity and immortality and was a way to connect the earth to the heavens. There are two interpretations I had, one being those who follow and worship her and want to free her sometime in the future. Or a much, much darker thought that these towers could represent an eternity of suffering and blind worshippers changing the narratives until one day everything you once were is completely gone and the idea of you is no more. Would you mistake someone's cries for help as fate singing? Would their words fall on empty ears? Can love only exist if hate is present in the world? Or is hate simply a human construct? Lethargy Hill is a vastly different style of gameplay compared to the other titles. There isn't much to interact with, and you can only continuously follow a never-ending path while a story slowly unfolds on screen. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, however. First, why the name Lethargy Hill? Lethargy, in its most simplest definition, means a lack of enthusiasm, or used in medical terms as a decrease in consciousness. Fitting for a story we're about to get into. Plopping us down, the game is very gritty. It's the kind of graphics you find straight out of Doom Guy, with the heavy use of oranges, gray, and small black spots littering the terrain. Immediately, words begin to flow on screen, introducing us to the house. Atop a hill, the house is like any other, laid with bedrooms, drawing rooms, kitchens, but only had one basement. That's where she lived. The screeching rat queen clustered with veins and connective tissue. It was her house. She wanted a family and needed some loved ones to fill the empty silence that she's grown accustomed to. But as isolated as she is, she needed to make them herself, starting with a husband. This is where we get into the psyche of this person. She wants to create a husband to, and I quote, make sure the doors were kept locked, scraping his feet along the carpet and sobbing gently into the silence. Husband things. Okay. The husband was made of twigs, sticks, and fallen branches tied together by hair from corpses found in the forest and glued together by the leftover rim that was in their eyes and nose. The sister was next, her purpose being to fill the halls with jealousy. She was made of screeching ghosts from the nearby cemetery. The kids were next on the list. She didn't want to just be a couple. She wanted a family, a son and a daughter. Boys are simple, she said. She made her son out of her very own blood and flesh, immediately running amok the halls, staining the carpets and the walls. The daughter was more complicated, primarily being made of complex spider webs found throughout the house and the age-old spider queen that housed them, bringing them all together. And out came a beautiful daughter. She had her family. She was happy. But not for long. Time passed on and things began to get boring. The husband roamed the same halls over and over again. The sister became too lively for her taste. Instead of just watching through the windows, she began to carve at the walls from the outside, no longer being content with just watching. The daughter took a liking to the sister and did everything together with her. Instead of making the daughter hate her, she made the daughter fall in love with her. The son was the only good thing to come out of this, the only one to do anything right. And in a desperate attempt to keep him from withering away, the mother tried lowering him into the basement where he fell and met his end. She hated them. She hated her family. This isn't what she wanted. The husband was first. She cornered him and pulled away his hair, then plop, he came falling apart. The sister was next on the list, luring her into the forest to then crush her pale, frail body. The spirits inhabiting her body sank back into the soil, leaving behind no trace. The daughter was sad, of course, as she was pulled apart limb from limb. She didn't even fight. She didn't even bother to say goodbye. Ungrateful. She was lonely, once again. She tried passing the time by talking to herself, but in the end, she felt empty. She would think, I hope someone visits soon. That's what I need. Someone I didn't create. Someone who would surprise me. I won't be alone anymore. 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 Wow. Just wow. Horrorshow's use of diction and vocabulary is nothing short of poetic. But what's going on here? What's the story? Personally, there are two interpretations that I have. A literal one and a figurative one. The literal one being everything stated in the story is 100% real, and those tall figures, when the sky burns red, are the ones containing her here. as a form of torture or self-preservation. The figurative spin on it could be the visual representation of someone's health slowly declining, a woman feeling isolated and creating these loved ones just for them to fall apart, even in memory. The slow degradation of the surroundings also points to this notion, starting off relatively sane and then ending in madness and disarray. Whatever you think, the theme is clear. The horrors and emptiness. If you never known love, would you still feel empty without it? 4 games, 4 different narratives, all having common themes. Let me ask you a question. What did you notice in all the games we've discussed? Was it the imagery, the way in which the stories were told? Was it the common themes, or was it the horrific sound design?
Okay, alright. God, I can't stand that noise.
For me, it was the lack of imminent danger. In none of her games was there ever a killer on the loose or a monster in pursuit of you. So, what makes Horrorshow's games so terrifying? Emptiness. A sad feeling of having no emotion or the quality of lacking meaning or sincerity. Meaningless. In each and every one of her games, emptiness remains to be the best word to describe that feeling you're left with once the game ends and boots you back to your computer home screen.
I know which house is yours. You son of a...
Emptiness. Watching someone you love slowly lose themselves and become a husk of a person they used to be. Emptiness. Exploring a city where life was evident, but now it's nothing short of a ghost town. Recordings immortalizing the fact that they're gone. Emptiness. Learning the tragic fate of someone you worshipped, realizing those soft melodies were really desperate cries for help. Emptiness. Creating loved ones, only to realize you yourself will forever be alone in the end. Emptiness. The fear of these games primarily spring from the harsh reality Horrorshow presents. When an individual is suffering from depression or anxiety, there isn't really a singular word to describe what they're feeling. Words like sad and sorrow come to mind, but for those seeking deep into that depressive state, doesn't even begin to describe the way they actually feel. And as the gamer, when diving into a new game, at least for me, I particularly make myself more vulnerable, ready to sponge every little detail I can about the world I'm taken to. Both naively and excitingly wanting to have questions and then have those questions eventually answered. But Kitty Horrorshow instead gives you many questions and rarely ever gives you the answers you're so searching for. Instead, hitting you with a bleak reality, situations so morbid, so complex, that you can't understand how the characters are feeling, yet you still try. Painstakingly experiencing the game until a well-placed jump scare gets you, then the end. Your hands are sweating, eyes are strained, mind is racing. Feels like all the blood accumulated in your head is now returning to the rightful places, and a slight chill flows throughout your body as you sit back and sigh a big relief. It's over. Kitty Horrorshow weaponizes your own mind, daring you to think upon the morbid reality she presents, daring you to look deeper into yourself to find purpose of you being here. When you're gone, what will be left behind?
I can't even look at the camera without laughing. Hey guys, it's me. This is the end of the video. Welcome to the end of the video. This will serve as the end of the video ramblings. because I had no other place else to put them. But first off, thank you guys for watching. I very much loved researching Kitty Horrorshow's video games and honestly just freaking myself out and really just brainstorming it to people who would just listen. It was very fun. It was very great. And if you guys are watching this right now, please subscribe, like and subscribe. Comment down below another game you would like to see me deep dive on, or a group of games that I would like to deep dive on, or if you want a part 2 to this Kitty Horrorshow business, because I've only done 4 out of like 16 of her games. So that's the thing. So yeah, Kitty Horrorshow has honestly become like one of my favorite indie horror game creators that I've had the pleasure of ever playing and researching. But she was also the first, so that's a problem, because I'm pretty sure she's one of the best, and I simply just got introduced to the best, and now everything else is going to backtrack from there. But you guys can make a difference. Tell me some games that, you know, have some good lore to it, some good story points to it, you know, Frambo looking, you know, something like it. But anyway, I had no script for this. If you couldn't tell, I had zero script for this part of the section of the video. And I just wanted to say bye.